Hi there. I'm Dave from Take the Moon, and this is me dissecting a track for the benefit of all you lovely people out there who wonder how the hell it is I do these things. So this is especially for Jason from MC Ultra, who at our last gig said, "What the hell are you doing back there, man? I'd love to know." So here is far more detail than you wanted, Jason. And this is also going out to Lo-Fi Robot from Twitter because I know he loves this track. So here's where you get to see how it all happens. So let's talk about what we've got. Ignore this and ignore this because they're not on these tracks. On this track, middle here we've got a Novation Launchpad, which is handling loop triggers, samples, and is also doing some keyboard work as well. We've got a nice big 61 note controller here that's split into zones. So I've got my bass parts down here, I've got my lead part in the middle, and this top bit is just controlling the root note for my sequencer, which is over here. Back there's a laptop that's running Ableton Live, and Ableton is doing an awful lot of my sort of MIDI management and routing and stuff like that. There's also some drum samples running in there and a single pad running in there as well. But most of the instruments are real, they're out here. So over here we've got an Arturia beat step sequencer that's sending notes to this rack of Dupfer modular modules. There's nothing exotic in here, these are just very basic. There's noise, there's a couple of oscillators, there's a mixer, a filter. That's kind of it. There's nothing particularly special. Here we've got a Roland System 1M semi-modular synth, which has got some beautiful noises in it. And then hanging everything together over here, we've got a Roland MX1 performance mixer. This is just, I can't even begin to say how much fun to work with this piece of kit is. This has just the most amazing set of musician-friendly, live-friendly facilities and features on it that it is absolutely mind-blowing. And I'll take you through some of the features on that. So what have we got? We've got, let's see, let's get some noises going. So we've got a bass. And that's being generated by the System 1M there. You'll notice it's a very, very short release on it. And the reason for that is that we're using a little bit of programmed wizardry over here that I made with Max for Live just to do this. So it's just chopping some notes in. We're controlling the root note here. Like that. And then we've got a really, really beautiful Arturia Minimoog emulation, which is just fantastic. I should say that's down here on the floor. We've got some pedals. There's a sustain pedal over on the left. There's an expression pedal in the middle that controls the filter on this. Fairly subtly, but it is there. And then over on the right, I've got a foot switch that is hooked up to this homemade gadget that sends a MIDI note so that I can mute my drums when I'm playing live, which is actually quite useful. So that's that. Sequencer should be running away. There we are. And like I say, the root note of that is controlled up here. Those keyboard zones are all done with again a Max for Live patch that I wrote that's working over there, and that can not only say which bit of the keyboard it's accepting MIDI from, but it also does things like it says whether that zone accepts a sustain pedal and other bits and pieces as well. But I'll see if I can throw a photograph into that and maybe describe it a bit more on the blog at some point. So in the middle here we've got some other bits and pieces. So this is a Novation Launchpad, and this mode I've configured to send a grid of harmonically arranged MIDI notes in a specific key, in this case C minor, because that's what we're working in, and that's hooked up to a synth in Ableton. So And again, that's a bit of Max for Live programming. I'll perhaps get around to doing a description of that. The nice thing about that is it's got a constant sustain on it, so I can just put a chord on and leave it hanging, and that gets used in this tune quite a lot, but we do a bit more with it. Over here on the MX1, you've got some beat effects that are tempo synchronized. So if we switch to that channel, that's the beat effect slicer. So as you can see, it's slicing up the signal that it's getting in, which is just the most beautiful effect. That synth has also got a rather long sweeping LFO on it, on the filter. So you'll hear that coming up. And then it'll fall away again very slowly. I think that's over something crazy, like about 16 bars or something. So that's that. And then elsewhere we've got, what else have we got? Yeah, so elsewhere we've got, okay, so let's get onto some samples, some loops. So we've got a few loops. We've got some rather nice white noise that was originally from the modular. I sampled it. It's got a nice LFO and a filter on it. I would love to be able to do all of this stuff live, but I just don't have a big enough modular system yet, but I'm working on that. So we've got that, and then we've got some drums. So let's put a kick in. There we go. That's just a really simple kick. Now the other nice thing over here is that we've got some very sort of DJ-like effects. So we've got this delay, which is just awesome. And you can hear that, you'll hear that quite a lot on the drums. We've also got some really nice per channel filters on this as well. Very, very musical. This is just the greatest thing for playing with live, it really is. So we've then got some drums as well. And there you go, that filter is just awesome. And then, like I said, there's a foot switch that lets me just switch those in and out live, which is quite useful. Now that drum kit, that drum machine is just a very, very simple repeating loop. It's one pattern all the way through. The only variation you'll hear in it is changing the amount of delay on it, which is just brilliant. The drum machine is a set of samples from a called Mini Pops drum machine, which you may recognise from Jean-Michel Jarre's seminal Oxygen album, and I've been in love with that particular drum machine ever since I first heard that album as a kid. So there we go, so let's get that going, let's get our sequencer in, and our pad. And some bass. Then we've also got some samples here, we've got some various bits and pieces, again all taken from the modular. And again, just the mixer is just the most musical thing. It's just lovely, it really is. So there you kind of have it. That's how the track goes. Thank you very, very much for listening. If you want to stay in touch, please, follow me on Twitter. I'm at Morocco_Dave and at take_the_moon. You can also find me at MoroccoDave.com, takethemoon.com, and leave a comment below. Share the video with your friends. If there's anything interesting here, if there's anything you want to discuss, if you want to know more about the gear, more about Max for Live programming or the homemade bits and pieces or any of that, just give me a shout and we'll talk it through. It's cool. And thanks very much for paying attention, sticking with me through this first video, and hope that you'll join me again at some time. Cheers. Bye bye.